It was July 12, 1985, a Friday night, heavy with heat. The kind of night when the asphalt still radiates warmth long after sunset, and the air tastes faintly of gasoline and dust. You picture the scene: headlights slicing through the dark cassette, tapes rattling inside a worn Chevy, the hum of the road carrying two people toward an ordinary destination. A young couple, mid-20s, deeply in love. They had just spent the day visiting family 2 states over and were now making the long drive back home. They weren't wealthy, they weren't famous, they were ordinary. But that ordinariness would soon make their disappearance all the more terrifying. He was behind the wheel, steady, calm, hands gripping at 10 and 2 the way he'd learned years ago. She sat beside him, feet tucked under her, head leaning against the window. Occasionally she'd sing along to the music, off-key but sweet, her laughter filling the car when he teased her. In the back seat, a paper bag of snacks rustled, the kind picked up at a roadside gas station hours earlier. Half a sandwich, a bag of pretzels, a soda that had gone warm. They were tired but happy. The road stretched endlessly ahead, lined with pine trees that loomed like silent sentinels. But tiredness is dangerous. Fatigue crept into his bones. He rubbed his eyes. She noticed. "Let's stop soon," she suggested. "Just for a minute." And then they saw it. Up ahead, glowing against the night, a highway rest stop. You can imagine it clearly. A row of fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. Vending machines humming, stocked with sodas and candy bars. A handful of cars scattered through the lot. A payphone against the wall, its receiver dangling. The sign out front read, "Rest Stop 47, gas, food, restrooms." It looked ordinary, harmless, exactly the kind of place you wouldn't think twice about. They pulled in, parked neatly near the restrooms. The car doors clicked shut. Inside the car, they left their wallets, their IDs, even a bag of groceries they'd picked up earlier that evening. They were planning on coming right back, but they never did. Hours later, a truck driver pulled into the same rest stop. He noticed the car immediately. It was parked straight, headlights off, no movement inside. Nothing unusual. People slept in their cars all the time, but when he returned after a shower and coffee, the car hadn't moved. Curious, he peeked inside. Wallets, drinks, snacks, everything in place, no people. The driver shrugged it off. But by morning, the car was still there. That's when a call was made to local police. Deputies arrived before sunrise. They inspected the vehicle. The doors were locked, the keys missing, no signs of forced entry. No blood, no broken glass, no struggle. It was as if the couple had stepped out for just a moment and never returned. The restrooms were empty, the vending machines untouched. The attendants claimed they hadn't seen anyone unusual. And yet, too, people had vanished from a brightly lit public place in the middle of the night. Over the next 48 hours, police canvassed the area. They found a handful of witnesses. A woman claimed she saw the couple walking toward the vending machines around 11 p.m. She remembered because they were laughing, and the man gave her a polite nod. A trucker swore he saw a dark van idling near the edge of the lot, lights off. When he looked again, it was gone. Another traveler insisted he heard a scream near the wooded area behind the restrooms, but dismissed it as kids messing around. No witness saw the couple leave. By Sunday, their families were frantic. Phone calls went unanswered. The car was impounded, searched thoroughly. Nothing. Reporters flocked to the story. Headlines screamed, "Couple vanishes from highway rest." Stop. No trace, no leads. The families gave tearful interviews holding up photographs of the missing couple. Their voices cracked as they begged for answers, but answers never came. With no leads, rumors began. Some said it was a crime of opportunity, someone lurking in the shadows, waiting for strangers to stop. Others whispered of organized rings, of vans that prowled highways looking for victims. And then there were darker rumors still, of the rest stop itself, of strange lights reported by truckers, of time slips whispered in hushed tones. But there was no proof. Just silence. Weeks turned into months. The car sat in an impound lot gathering dust. Detectives pored over it again and again, searching for overlooked evidence. But there was none. By winter of 1985, the case had gone cold. 2 people had stepped out of their car at a rest stop and vanished into the night. and for 37 years nothing new would surface until a storage locker was opened. In 2022, during a routine auction of unpaid storage units, the FBI intervened. Inside one of the units, buried beneath old boxes and furniture, was a locked trunk. When agents pried it open, they froze. Because inside the trunk were objects that should have never existed outside that car in 1985, the couple's belongings, and something else that would shake the case to its core. For 37 years, the case sat gathering dust in county archives. Yellowed newspaper clippings, faded photographs, police reports typed on brittle paper. Detectives retired, witnesses aged. The rest stop was remodeled, its old fluorescent. Lights replaced by brighter LEDs. Travelers came and went, never knowing that the asphalt beneath their feet still held a ghost story. But in the spring of 2022, something shifted. It began with something ordinary. A storage facility on the edge of town was auctioning off units abandoned by tenants who hadn't paid their rent. Dozens of bidders gathered, ready to gamble on forgotten furniture, boxes of junk, maybe a hidden treasure. Unit number 47 looked like the rest, dusty, padlocked, filled with crates. When the lock was cut and the door rolled up, bidders leaned forward, flashlights in hand. But before the bidding could start, two unmarked black SUVs pulled into the lot. Men in dark suits stepped out. The crowd grew quiet. The auctioneer froze. He whispered with one of the agents. Then, abruptly, the auction was halted. The crowd grumbled. But inside the unit, hidden among the clutter, the FBI had found something that shouldn't have been there. At the back of the unit sat a heavy steel trunk, rusted, locked, its surface covered in dust. When agents pried it open, the smell of a dampened age spilled out. Inside, carefully folded and stacked, were items that investigators hadn't seen since 1985. A woman's leather purse, cracked with time. A man's wristwatch, stopped at 11:07. A faded Polaroid of the couple, smiling. In front of their car. And at the very bottom, a blood-stained jacket. These items had been logged into evidence nearly 4 decades earlier. They should have been locked away in a police vault. Instead, they were here, in a forgotten storage locker. When news leaked that the FBI had seized Unit No. 47, the town buzzed with rumors. Maybe it's junk, some said. Maybe just old boxes. But others whispered, it's them, it has to be. The families of the missing couple, now elderly, were contacted. They trembled as they confirmed the purse, the watch, the jacket. These were their children's things. Tears fell as they asked the same question everyone else was asking. How did evidence from a 1985 disappearance end up in a rented locker? Reporters demanded answers. Microphones shoved into agents' faces, cameras flashing, questions hurled. What did you find? Why was the FBI involved? Does this mean the couple was murdered? But agents gave the same response every time. No comment. Behind closed doors, however, something darker was unfolding. The discovery of the trunk triggered a full reopening of the case. Evidence was flown to Quantico for testing. DNA swabs, forensic scans, chemical analysis. And though the FBI released nothing publicly, whispers leaked. The blood on the jacket matched the male victim. The purse contained a receipt time-stamped the very night they vanished. The watch's hands were frozen at the exact hour witnesses claimed they saw the couple. Alive, it wasn't just old evidence. It was frozen in time, as if sealed away deliberately. But wait, who sealed it away? The man who had rented Unit No. 47 decades ago was tracked down. He had died years earlier, but his rental history raised questions. He wasn't a local. He had no ties to Mill Creek. His name appeared in no police files, yet records showed he had begun renting the unit in 1986, just 1 year after the disappearance. When investigators dug further, they found his employment history. He had once worked as a contractor for federal law enforcement. Had he been part of the original investigation? Or had he been tasked with hiding its most damning evidence? When the families learned this, anger replaced grief. All these years, the mother cried, "We thought no one was looking, but all along someone knew. She held her daughter's purse in trembling hands, pressing it to her chest as if the leather could bring her child back. How dare they hide this? How dare they keep this from us? In June 2022, FBI agents returned to the rest stop where the couple had vanished. It had changed. New lighting, repaved lot, remodeled bathrooms, but beneath the surface traces remained. Ground-penetrating radar swept the soil. Drones scanned the wooded area. Dogs sniffed the air for remains. One night, under cover of darkness, workers drilled beneath the original foundations of the restrooms. They pulled up something metallic, waterlogged, covered in rust, a license plate. It matched the couple's car. But their car had never been dismantled. It still sat in a police impound lot. So why was a matching plate buried under the rest stop floor? But wait, was this planted, or had there been another vehicle? Days later, an anonymous email reached a local journalist. Attached was a single, scanned document, red-stamped classified. It was a memo dated August 1985. Rest stop 47 secured. Evidence relocated to containment. Public disclosure unacceptable. Project Seraphim. There it was again. That same name whispered decades earlier. Project Seraphim. What did it mean? Why did it keep resurfacing? And what did it have to do with a vanished couple? Mill Creek exploded with theories. Some said the couple had stumbled onto something they weren't supposed to see. Others believed they had been abducted by a traveling serial killer. And still others whispered of experiments, of cover-ups, of things far beyond human understanding. The rest stop, once ignored, now became a site of pilgrimage. People came from other states just to stand in its lot, to take photos, to say they had been where the couple vanished. But the FBI's presence kept them at bay. Yellow tape, armed guards, silence. Then came the second locker. Across the state line, another unpaid unit was opened in September 2022. Inside was another trunk, smaller, heavily padlocked. When agents opened it, they didn't find clothing or photos. They found bones, and tucked between them, wrapped in plastic, was a rest stop. Map dated 1985, with a single circle drawn in red, right where the couple's car had been parked. For nearly 4 decades, the disappearance of the couple from Rest Stop 47 had been reduced to a cold case, a haunting headline from the past, something whispered about in truck stops, told around dinner tables as a cautionary tale. But in 2022, with the discovery of 2 storage lockers, the story was alive again. And this time, it wasn't just investigators who came forward. It was the people who had been silent for 37 years. Her name was Carol. In 1985, she had been a young mother traveling late at night with her infant daughter. She had stopped at Rest Stop 47 the same night the couple vanished. For decades, she said nothing. Who would believe her? But now, with the news exploding again, she found her voice. Carol told reporters she had seen the couple that night. She remembered them because they looked so young, so in love. The man had held the woman's hand as they walked toward the vending machines. But she saw something else. A van was parked near the tree line, she whispered. No lights, no sound, just waiting. When asked why she hadn't spoken earlier, her eyes filled with tears. I was scared, because I think they saw me too. Another man came forward, a retired truck driver, grey-haired now but still haunted. He swore he had been there that night. I was filling my thermos when I heard it, he said. A scream, sharp, cut off real quick. He ran outside, but saw nothing. Just the parked cars, the humming lights, the still trees. But he swore the air smelled different, acrid, metallic, and then, he said, he noticed something odd. The vending machine lights flickered, dimmed, then went out completely for a few seconds. When they came back, he said, the couple was gone. But wait. When he later tried to give a statement, something strange happened. The truck driver claimed he spoke with deputies in 1985. He remembered sitting in a small room, describing the scream, the lights. But when he asked for a copy of his statement, they told him it had never been taken. Decades later, when reporters checked the old case file, there was no record of his testimony, not a single page, as though his words had been erased. As witnesses came forward, FBI agents returned in force. They knocked on doors. They asked questions. But witnesses didn't feel protected, they felt silenced. One local shop owner described it like this: "They didn't want to hear what we saw. They wanted us to stop talking." Another woman swore 2 agents visited her father in the 1990s after he mentioned seeing strange lights over the rest stop. After that meeting, he never spoke of it again. By late 2022, the case dominated national headlines again. Cold case reignited. Couple's belongings found. FBI silent. True crime podcasts dissected every theory. YouTubers speculated wildly. TV panels debated whether this was a crime, a conspiracy, or something paranormal. But the louder the media screamed, the quieter the FBI grew. Their silence only made the story darker. For the families, the renewed attention was agony. Imagine being the sister of the missing woman, now in her 60s. For decades, she had mourned quietly, carrying the pain like a private wound. Now the cameras were back, shoving microphones into her face, demanding quotes. "They were people," she cried. "Not headlines. My sister loved to bake. She wanted children. She wasn't just a mystery." Her words cut deep. Because the truth was, the world had reduced the couple to symbols. Symbols of fear, of loss, of the unknown. In November 2022, the sister received a phone call from a blocked number. At first, she thought it was another reporter, but then she heard it. A man's voice. Calm. Flat. "Stop looking." She froze. "Who is this?" The line crackled, then faintly another voice, a younger one, trembling. "We're still here." The line went dead. She dropped the phone. But wait. Was it a cruel prank or something far more sinister? Investigators digging through the second storage locker made another discovery. Hidden in the lining of the trunk, folded tight, was a map of the highway system. On it, several rest stops were circled in red. Not just rest stop 47, 5 others. All of them had unsolved missing persons cases spanning from the 1970s through the early 1990s. Was this the work of a serial predator, striking across multiple states, or a network of something far larger? Leaks continued. Another memo surfaced, this one shorter, blunter. Project Seraphim, containment compromised, public must not connect disappearances, disperse evidence as needed. It was dated 1986, just months after the couple vanished. The implication was chilling. Not only had the government known, they had actively scattered evidence. By Christmas 2022, Mill Creek was gripped by paranoia. Some refused to stop at rest areas at night. Others claimed to see unmarked vans lurking again. A few swore they heard screams in the distance when driving past rest stop 47. The rest stop itself became a place of fear. Travelers hurried in and out, never lingering, never making eye contact. It was no longer a convenience. It was a grave marker. And then, in January 2023, something happened that made the fear real again. A college student traveling home late at night texted her friend, "Stopping at rest stop 47. Be there soon." She was never seen again. And when her car was found, parked neatly under the buzzing lights, her phone was still inside. The last photo she had taken was of the vending machines. And in the reflection of the glass just over her shoulder stood 2 blurred figures. The news of the college student's disappearance spread like wildfire. It wasn't just another cold case headline from the past, it was happening again. For nearly 40 years, the town had whispered about rest stop 47. Parents warned children. Truckers muttered to each other. Travelers hurried in and out. But those were whispers of the past. Now it was real, tangible, terrifying. A young woman had pulled into the rest stop, sent a casual text to her friend, and vanished. Just like before. Her car was found parked neatly under the fluorescent lights, the driver's side door locked. Inside, her purse, her ID, her phone. The last text read, "Grabbing a soda. Be there soon." On her phone's camera roll, the final image was chilling. The vending machine's glass reflecting her face, and behind her 2 blurred figures. No one recognized them, no one admitted to being there, and just like that, the nightmare of 1985 was alive again. Within hours, the FBI locked down the rest stop. Bright floodlights turned the night into day. Agents in black jackets set up tents, sealed off the parking lot, combed the woods with flashlights, reporters swarmed, cameras flashing, drones buzzing overhead. But just like in 1985, the official statement was brief. "We are investigating, no further comment at this time." That silence spoke louder than words. National outlets seized the story. The rest stop curse. FBI hiding the truth? Another victim, same place. Podcasts dissected every frame of the vending machine photo. True crime channels debated endlessly about the blurred figures. Were they abductors, fellow travelers, or something else? For the families of the original couple, it was agony all over again. 37 years later, and they still won't tell us the truth, the missing woman's brother said on live television. His voice cracked with rage. How many people have to vanish before they admit what's happening? But wait, what was happening? The town split into camps, each theory louder than the last. The predator theory. Some insisted this was the work of a predator, or even a network. Someone using the rest stop as hunting ground, collecting victims for decades. The cover-up theory. Others believed the FBI had known all along. That Project Seraphim wasn't about protecting the public, but about hiding something far more sinister. The paranormal theory. And then there were the ones who whispered about lights, distortions, the vending machines flickering that night in 1985, theories of time slips, doorways, experiments that went wrong. Each theory terrified. None explained everything. At a candlelight vigil for the student, an older woman spoke. She was the mother of the missing man from 1985. Her voice trembled but carried power. "They told us it was just a tragedy," she said. "That they tried. Everything. But I know better now. I know they hid the truth. My son didn't just vanish, he was taken." The crowd fell silent. Candles flickered in the night, and for the first time, fear turned into anger. A week later, a video surfaced online. Grainy, shaky, filmed from a distance. It showed FBI agents at Rest Stop 47, carrying a large black bag between them. The bag dripped water, its shape unnatural. The video ended abruptly as someone shouted, "Hey!" and the camera cut off. Was it real? Was it staged? No one knew, but it spread like wildfire, and it fueled the belief that the FBI wasn't searching for answers. They were cleaning something up. But wait, cleaning what up? Leaks continued to trickle in. Another memo, this one dated 1987. Containment successful, witness accounts suppressed, Ravenwood and Rest Stop 47 linked, continue monitoring cycles. Cycles, the word chilled investigators. Because if disappearances came in cycles, then it wasn't random, it was predictable. And if it was predictable, it was controlled. Forensic analysis of the missing student's phone revealed something stranger still. Her final photo wasn't the only one. Buried in the data were corrupted images, blurry, distorted, almost burned into the file. Shapes, lights, and faint outlines of the same couple who vanished in 1985. The boyish smile of the man. The long hair of the woman, standing behind the student, as if they had returned for just an instant. By spring 2023, the town was fractured. Some demanded answers, others demanded silence. Businesses near the Rest Stop suffered. No one wanted to stop there anymore. Travelers avoided the area at night. Truckers detoured miles just to skip it. It wasn't just a rest stop anymore. It was cursed ground. And then one night a fire broke out in the wooded area behind Rest Stop 47. When firefighters arrived, they found trees scorched, the air heavy with the smell of ozone. At the center of the burn zone lay something metallic. Fragment, stamped with 3 letters and 4 numbers, the same code found in the lockers, the same code whispered in the files, Project Seraphim's mark. By summer of 2023, Rest Stop 47 was no longer just a local mystery. It had become a national story, debated on television, dissected in podcasts, and argued about across every online forum. But as reporters dug deeper, a chilling realization emerged. This wasn't just about one couple in 1985. It wasn't just about one student in 2023. Disappearances like these had happened elsewhere, far from Mill Creek, and long before. A journalist in Chicago uncovered a trove of declassified documents from the late Cold War, scattered reports, odd disappearances, strange references buried in footnotes. 1972, Alaska. A family of 4 vanished at a roadside diner. Their car was left running in the lot. The lights flickered, then died. 1978, West Germany. 2 soldiers disappeared from a NATO rest area. Their rifles were later found submerged in a fountain. 1983, Nevada. Travelers at a desert rest stop swore the vending machines went dark for 5 minutes. When the lights returned, 3 people were gone. In each file, a familiar phrase appeared in the margins. Refer to Seraphim. Through encrypted leaks, Isabella, the journalist who had been chasing the story since 2022, received a message from a foreign intelligence contact. It was short, direct. Seraphim is not American only. Others involved: Brazil, Germany, Japan, shared data, shared disappearances. She read it twice. If true, it meant Seraphim wasn't just a US project, it was international. Through encrypted leaks, Isabella, the journalist who had been chasing the story since 2022, received a message from a foreign intelligence contact. It was short, direct. Seraphim is not American only. Others involved: Brazil, Germany, Japan, shared data, shared disappearances. She read it twice. If true, it meant Seraphim wasn't just a US project. It was international. A physicist from MIT analyzed satellite logs from the 1980s. In June 1985, the very night the couple disappeared, anomalous electromagnetic spikes were recorded. Above the region where Rest Stop 47 stood, the same kind of spike appeared in April 2023. The same night the college student vanished. Coincidence? Or proof that something measurable was happening in the sky above? Locals whispered of construction near Mill Creek in the late 1980s. A warehouse built overnight, trucks arriving at odd hours, workers who never spoke. In 2023, drone footage revealed that the site still existed, guarded, active. Through a telephoto, Lens reporters captured a chilling image, crates labeled Seraphim Containment. What was being contained, and why was it buried in the woods of a small Midwestern town? The brother of the missing woman from 1985 grew furious. He confronted reporters, shouting into cameras, "They're lying to us. They've known all along. My sister wasn't lost, she was taken. And now it's happening again. What are they hiding out there?" His anger spread. Protesters began gathering outside the FBI command post, holding signs, "Tell the truth." What is Seraphim? Stop the cover-up. The FBI said nothing, but their silence only fueled the fire. In October 2023, a 3rd storage unit was uncovered in another state. Inside, more evidence: a driver's license from the missing couple, a half-empty soda bottle, still sealed with 1980s packaging, and a reel-to-reel audio tape. When the FBI tried to seize it, a copy leaked online. The audio was faint, distorted, but voices could be heard. A woman crying, a man shouting, "Don't! Go near the light!" Then static, and finally a mechanical voice. Project Seraphim unit secured. But wait, secured what? People, objects, or something else entirely? Isabella compiled every case she could find. When plotted on a map, the points form not chaos but a line, a corridor stretching across continents: Alaska, Midwestern highways, Nevada, Germany, Brazil, Japan, places where reality seemed to bend, where vanishings clustered. She stared at the map, goosebumps rising. It wasn't random, it was systematic. Finally, Isabella secured a meeting with a retired intelligence officer. His hands shook as he smoked, eyes darting to every corner of the diner. "You think Seraphim is about saving people?" he rasped. "It's not. It's about studying thresholds, places where doors open." He leaned closer, voice barely audible. "They don't close them. They use them." "Use them how?" Isabella pressed. He crushed his cigarette. "To send things through. Sometimes people, sometimes not." Weeks later, a package arrived at Isabella's motel. Inside was a partially burned letter, written on official stationery. It read, Containment unstable. Ravenwood and Rest Stop 47 remain. Critical notes. Do not permit civilian access. 1985 subjects remain active. Her hands shook. Subjects. Not victims. Subjects. In December 2023, a storm swept through Mill Creek. Lightning struck the woods behind Rest Stop 47. When residents ventured out the next morning, they found something horrifying. A section of ground had caved in, revealing a tunnel. Concrete walls, lights still glowing. A facility buried beneath the earth, and at the entrance, half buried in mud, was a sign. Project Seraphim, entry restricted. The ground had split open like a wound. Rain poured into the gash, washing mud and roots away, revealing something no one in Mill Creek had ever expected to see. Concrete walls, embedded cables, fluorescent lights still flickering after nearly 4 decades. The hidden facility was real. Project Seraphim wasn't just a whisper, it was right there under their feet. Locals gathered, staring down into the sinkhole. Some whispered prayers. Others took photos before agents arrived. Through the opening you could see a staircase descending into the earth, rusted handrails, cracked tiles. But what stunned everyone was that the lights still worked. Electricity pulsed through the veins. Of something alive, something buried, something never meant to be uncovered. And then the SUVs came, black, unmarked, fast. FBI agents swarmed, pushing people back, sealing the area in yellow tape. No photos, no entry. Their voices sharp. Cold. But the photos were already online. By morning, the town was in chaos. Some swore the sinkhole was an accident. Others believed it was divine punishment, exposing secrets that had been hidden too long. And a few, shaking with fear, said the truth out loud. If there's a facility down there, then maybe the missing aren't gone. Maybe they're still inside. But wait, what would they be like after 37 years? Dr. Alan Perkins, the physicist who had studied anomalies at Ravenwood, arrived at Mill Creek with new data. He held up charts showing electromagnetic spikes that lined up perfectly with both the 1985 disappearance and the 2023 one. This isn't coincidence, he said. It's a cycle. The ground itself resonates. Something beneath this rest stop is a node, a point where space-time bends, and they built the facility to monitor it. His voice dropped. But you can't just observe something like this. It observes you back. That week, residents began reporting strange lights again, white orbs hovering low above the highway, pulses of brightness flashing silently in the woods, even headlights that bent, stretching, twisting, vanishing as if swallowed by the air itself. Drivers pulled over, terrified. Some swore they lost minutes, even hours, when they checked their watches. The phenomenon spread beyond Mill Creek. Travelers along the interstate claimed they saw the same lights. It was no longer local. It was spreading. An elderly woman approached Isabella. Her husband had been a janitor at the rest stop in the 1980s. He had died years ago, but before his death, he told her something that chilled her blood. He said there were rooms underground, she whispered. Rooms filled with people who weren't right. They didn't speak, they just stared, like something had hollowed them out. Her hands trembled. He begged me never to stop there at night, said the place was hungry. But wait, hungry for what? Another leak surfaced, a set of documents labeled Seraphim Containment Logs, 1985-1990. The entries were fragmented, but certain phrases stood out. Subjects exhibit time dilation. Auditory phenomena. Voices resembling relatives. Containment breach resulted in loss of 2 operatives. Recommendations seal Rest Stop 47 indefinitely. At the bottom of one page, handwritten in faded ink, they are not gone, they are waiting. One of Isabella's colleagues went to investigate the sinkhole with a drone camera. He sent back footage of tunnels, doors marked with hazard symbols, and strange shadows moving beyond the light. That night, he never returned home. His car was found parked neatly at the edge of Rest Stop 47. His phone, still recording, showed his last words, "Something's coming up the stairs." Then static. Sheriff Monroe faced the impossible. Should she warn the town to evacuate? Should she confront the FBI? She stood at the edge of the sinkhole one night, the wind whipping her hair, and she swore she heard voices rising from below. A man's voice, a woman's voice, and then, faintly, the cry of a child. The brother of the missing woman from 1985 was shown a blurred frame from the drone footage. His knees buckled. "I know that face," he whispered. "It's her, my sister. She hasn't aged a day." Was it real? A trick of the light? Or had time itself bent, trapping victims in a loop that never moved forward? And then, in January 2024, the sinkhole widened. The ground collapsed, swallowing part of the parking lot. Concrete cracked, metal twisted, and a massive door was exposed. A steel door, rusted but intact. Stamped across its surface were 3 words in bold black paint: Project Seraphim, entry restricted. The agents moved quickly to seal it. But before locals swore they heard pounding from the other side, and a voice crying out, "Help us!" The pounding echoed in the night, heavy, hollow, human, and then the voice, "Help us!" It came from behind the rusted steel door revealed by the sinkhole, a voice muffled by decades of earth and concrete. Witnesses swore it sounded real. Others said it was a trick of the wind. But no one could deny the terror it sparked, because if it was real, if someone was alive in there, then who had been trapped for nearly 40 years? By dawn, the FBI had sealed the site. Floodlights illuminated the collapsed asphalt. Agents in hazmat suits moved with precision, and heavy machinery arrived to cover the entrance. The official statement was brief. No evidence of human activity was found. The sinkhole has been secured for safety, but locals knew better. They had heard the pounding. They had heard the voice, and some had even recorded it. Clips spread online, distorted but chilling. "Help us!" Mill Creek erupted. Protesters lined the highway with signs. "Open the door!" "What is Seraphim?" "Bring them home." Sheriff Monroe tried to calm them, but she herself had heard the voice. She couldn't shake it. It haunted her dreams. And the families, the ones who had waited decades, now demanded entry. "If they're in there," one sister shouted into a camera, "then open it. Open it now." But wait. When a whistleblower leaked documents weeks later, the demand only grew louder. The leak was a set of internal memos dated between 1985 and 1987. They were stamped with the insignia of multiple agencies: FBI, CIA, even NATO. Key phrases stood out. Subjects contain anomalous properties post-exposure. Time slippage documented, minutes outside, equal days within. Do not attempt retrieval, containment prioritized. Seraphim sites coordinated internationally, and at the bottom of one memo, scribbled in pen, "Rest Stop 47 compromised. Use secondary storage for evidence." It was confirmation. The lockers weren't random. They were part of the cover-up. Journalists pieced it together. Other countries had their own Rest Stop 47s. A tunnel in Brazil where buses disappeared without record. A service station in Germany that became infamous for soldiers vanishing during the Cold War. A Japanese roadside park closed mysteriously after families reported hearing voices in the vending machines. Each site whispered the same word: Seraphim. This wasn't local. It wasn't national. It was global. Sheriff Monroe confronted the FBI directly. "What's in there?" she demanded. "What are you hiding from my town?" The agent's reply was cold. "You think they're still alive? You don't want to see what's behind that door." One night, activists launched a drone into the sinkhole before agents could stop them. The footage streamed live. The drone dipped through the collapsed asphalt, hovered at the steel door, and then it moved inside. The corridor stretched downward, lined with flickering lights. On the walls, warnings stenciled in black. Restricted. Authorized personnel only. At the end of the hall, the drone's camera caught a glimpse of something. A figure, standing perfectly still, its face pale, its eyes unblinking, and it looked exactly like the missing woman from 1985. The feed cut out. But wait, was it really her, or something wearing her face? Around the same time, Isabella received a battered notebook in the mail. No return address. Inside, shaky handwriting filled the pages. The first line read, "We've been here since 1985. The entries were fragmented, rambling, sometimes incoherent. They watch us, through the glass. The lights hum at night. They don't let us sleep. Time is wrong here. A day feels like a year. She says she saw her own reflection walk past, but it wasn't her. And finally, one chilling line: "We're not alone in here." When the journal leaked, the families broke. The mother of the college student screamed on live TV, "Open it! If my daughter is down there, open it!" Crowds chanted. Pressure mounted. The FBI responded with silence. In late March 2024, another document surfaced. This one not a memo, but a transcript. Subject: male, mid-20s, identified as one of the 1985 victims. Condition: alive, minimal aging, exhibits non-human vocal distortion. Recommendation: do not release. Isabella stared at the page, her hands trembling. Alive, minimal aging, non-human distortion. What had they become? And then, one night, the steel door opened, not by force, not by protest, but from the inside. Witnesses swore they saw the door creak outward, metal grinding against concrete. And in the flood of light spilling from the darkness, a shadow stepped forward, tall, thin, familiar. It was the missing man from 1985, his face unchanged, his eyes hollow, and when he spoke, his voice was not his own. The door creaked open with a sound that didn't belong in this world, metal groaning against metal, decades of rust tearing free. And then he stepped out. The man who vanished from Rest Stop 47 in 1985. His face was the same as the photographs, boyish, clean-shaven, early 20s. He had not aged a day, but his eyes were wrong, hollow, unblinking. And when he spoke, his voice echoed, layered, distorted. "We're still here." The crowd gasped. Some screamed. Others fell silent, frozen. Family members rushed forward, tears streaming, calling his name. But FBI agents grabbed them, holding them back. "Stay away," one agent shouted, because they knew something the others didn't. The man's movements were unnatural, too precise, too deliberate, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. And when he reached the yellow tape, his mouth curled into something that looked like a smile, but wasn't. Armed agents swarmed, floodlights blazed, commands barked. On the ground, "Do not advance." But he didn't flinch. He simply stared at them with those hollow eyes, and then, without warning, he whispered, "You opened the door." The ground beneath the sinkhole trembled. Dust rained from the concrete. Deep below, something shifted. But wait, he wasn't alone. From the darkness behind the steel door, more figures emerged. A woman with long hair, the same woman who vanished. With him in 1985. Her steps were slow, mechanical, her face unchanged yet lifeless. Behind her, shapes moved, dozens of them, some wearing clothing from the 1970s, some from the 1990s, some from only months earlier. Victims from across decades. They had all returned, and none of them looked alive. Panic erupted. Protesters screamed. Reporters fled. Agents formed a line. Weapons drawn, shouting for order. But the figures didn't attack. They simply stood there, silent, watching. And then, as one, they whispered in unison, "Help us!" The words reverberated, not just in the air, but inside skulls, inside hearts. Some dropped to their knees, clutching their heads. Others ran into the night, swearing they could still hear the voices even miles away. Dr. Perkins, standing among the chaos, shouted over the noise. "It's not them anymore," he cried. "It's something using them." He pointed at the figures, trembling. Seraphim wasn't containment, it was a cage. They were holding something inside, and now it's out. The sister of the missing woman from 1985 sobbed, clawing at the tape. "That's her, that's my sister, let me through." But when the woman's pale eyes flicked toward her, there was no recognition, only emptiness. It was like staring into a mirror with no reflection behind it. But wait, why had they been released now? In the days after the incident, a final document leaked. A top-secret directive dated 1985, stamped with multiple agency seals. It read, "Project Seraphim sites must remain sealed, subjects not to be recovered. Containment protocols critical. Failure to comply risks threshold breach. Threshold breach. The words echoed like a death sentence. By February 2024, Rest Stop 47 was shut down permanently. Concrete barriers sealed the highway entrance. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter. The official statement claimed the sinkhole had made the site structurally unsafe. But the people of Mill Creek knew better. They knew what they had seen. The figures that looked like their loved ones. The voices begging for help. The hollow eyes. So what really happened? The government experiment theory. The disappearances. Were part of a Cold War project gone wrong. The victims weren't abducted, they were used. The threshold theory Rest Stop 47 sat on a tear in space-time. Those who vanished slipped through. When they returned, they weren't entirely human. The cover-up theory. The FBI and international agencies knew for decades. They weren't trying to solve the vanishings, they were trying to keep the truth from spreading. Isabella Duarte, the reporter who had chased the story for 2 years, ended her final article with these lines. They came back, but not as themselves. The question isn't what happened to them, it's what came with them. And if Rest Stop 47 is only one door, how many more are waiting to be opened? Imagine yourself pulling into a rest stop tonight. The lights hum overhead. The vending machine buzzes. You stretch your legs, grab a snack, take a photo, and in the reflection of the glass you see someone standing behind you, someone who isn't there when you turn around. Would you keep driving? Or would you realize too late that you've stepped into a story that never ends? What do you think happened to the couple in 1985? Were they the victims of a government experiment, survivors of a doorway to another world? Or did something darker take their place when they came back? Share your theory in the comments below, because some stories were never meant to stay buried. Don't let them vanish. Keep them alive with us.